guys? Welcome back to Davy Jones Locker. Today we're going to prime an oiling system in an LS motor. I've watched a lot of videos on this, and I think this is pretty much the best way to do it. It's a little bit of a process, but this is the definitive way. Now there's a special tool you can buy that pressurizes this thing with air pressure, and you can either get the small ones they use for AC systems that are like 50 or 60 bucks, or you can spend $200 on the big giant nasty one that does exactly the same thing. It's just at a larger capacity. But for what I'm going to do with it and to be cheap, I think I found the perfect solution. So you can get one of these spray things for 10 bucks on Amazon. It's your typical weed sprayer. Go ahead and grab the wand off the end of it and just cut it. This way you know it'll fit perfectly onto the one you got. A little piece of 3/8 hose, a little hose clamp, and one of these little fittings. I got this on Amazon. There's a port right here on the block that feeds into the oil galley that runs down the whole length of the block. M16 1.5, and it'll fit right into that port on the side of the block. And all we're going to do is screw it in, and we're going to pump it up. But there's a little bit more of a process to it to make sure that we get all of the oil galleys full. Now, if you go to Melling, they're going to tell you all you have to do is put a 3/8 hose in there and fill up the oil pump and prime it that way, and then spin the motor over. But you got to think, all that time you're spinning the motor over and pumping all that oil out of the sump through all the galleys and all up into the valve covers and everything else, that's the time that the motor is spinning without lubrication, other than the assembly lube you put it together with. It's very important that you make sure to get every single bit of air out of the motor that you possibly can. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we got oil everywhere. So first thing you want to do, make sure to have yourself prepped up to have this done properly, is you want to pull the oil pressure sensor. It's on the back, behind the intake, right on top of the block. Looks just like that. Go ahead and screw that bad boy out, because as you start to fill the system up, that's the first place you're going to get air coming out of. Next thing you want to do is put a fresh filter on it, fill it as much as possible before you screw it on, and make sure that you're sitting on something solid, still supported by the cherry picker here. Now's your chance to put a couple quarts of oil in your little pump sprayer. This particular pump sprayer is supposed to hold 1 gallon. So if I get 3 quarts in this, I think that's more than enough to get us started with. We got the sensor out of the top, so there's going to be air coming out of there. We got a brand new oil filter on it full of oil. We got oil in the charge pump. And all we got to do now is take our little adapter with our fitting on the end of it that we got on Amazon, screw that right into the side of the block, and we're pretty much in business. When I start to get oil out of the very top of the back of the block where that sensor is, I'm going to screw that sensor right back in there and plug that off. And then I'm going to keep pumping until we end up with oil coming out of the rockers. Pump it up.
Just going to take it before it blows past the seal.
Oh, I forgot to open the valve. Oh, there it is.
What did it?
Came up bubbling crude.
That's a good thing.
Now we just want to make sure we can start to get some oil out of the ports at the top of the rockers. Now, there's no pressure on these rockers right now. These are all loose. And the idea being that we don't want to put pressure on the lifter, because the lifter has to get full of oil as well.
Give me some of that genuine duck.
That brand name redneck stuff. Ain't no skimping around here. Paid 99 cents for that roll.
Actually, I think it paid like $5 for that roll.
Really?
Yeah,
Duct tape ain't cheap anymore.
I bought it at Tractor Supply or something. Oh, I got oil. I got oil dripping off of the rocker right
You got
here.
oil on the first one?
Doing what it's supposed to
Doing
do.
what it's supposed to do. I think this is by far the best way to do it. I think the biggest thing is going to be turning at 90 degrees.
At least it don't blow it out where it's blowing it all out past the motor, so you ain't got to worry about
Yeah, it's just barely seeping.
putting the valve covers over.
You can see we got oil there. And we got oil. Well, I thought we had oil in that one. Definitely got oil there. So if you're wondering why we don't have oil coming out of every single one of them, it's because at any given degree of engine rotation, the lifters are going to be closer or further away from the oil port that feeds them. So what we want to do now is make sure that since we've got half of the rockers spitting oil, we want to rotate the engine 90 degrees and keep priming it. And then after a couple of minutes, we're going to drop it down 180 degrees, 270, and then back up to 0 at 360. And this way we make sure that we have this engine primed at every single position where every single rocker is going to get a full supply of oil. That's what I want to see.
Listen.
All right, now that you got oil coming out of everywhere, you want to make sure to go ahead and lock down all your rocker arms and make sure to put that 22 pounds of torque using your torque wrench in 2 steps. And then you're pretty much ready to go. You can seal it back up and you'll have an engine that's ready to go back into anything, and you don't have to worry about oil not getting where it's supposed to be as soon as possible. So until next time, pursue your passions, work on your own projects. I'll catch up with you.